You were not expecting this. You did not search for it. Not in the way you think you did. But here you are. And here I am. This message found you. It navigated the noise, the endless stream of distractions, and settled on your screen. That was not an accident. It is not a coincidence. It is an answer to a question your heart has been whispering in the dark, a question you may have even forgotten you asked. I need you to listen. Not with your feelings. Not with that restless emotional part of you that seeks constant validation. I need you to listen with a part of you that has gone silent, a deeper place, the bedrock beneath the shifting soil of your moods. This is not a message of comfort, though comfort will come. This is not a message of condemnation, though you will be confronted. This is a message of necessary truth. And it is urgent because your season of understanding has finally arrived. You have been waiting to feel your way forward. You have been told that faith is a flame, a warmth, a surge of certainty in your chest. And in its absence, you have wondered if you were lost, if I had left you. You have prayed into silence and mistaken my stillness for abandonment. You have looked for signs in your emotional weather, a sunrise of joy, a cloudburst of peace, and when the skies remained gray, you assumed the sun itself had vanished. That ends now. The very foundation of what you have called faith is about to be tested. Not by me, but by truth. The faith I am calling you into does not live in the domain of feelings. It lives in the marrow of your will. It is a choice made in the cold, in the dark, in the deafening quiet. It is the yes spoken when every nerve in your body screams no. It is the step taken when you cannot see the path, when no hand guides your shoulder, when no voice cheers you on. I have been silent in ways you could not understand. I have withheld the feeling of my presence not as punishment, but as preparation. What could be built on a foundation of fleeting emotion? A house of sand, beautiful until the first tide. I am building something in you that must withstand storms you do not even know are coming. I had to let you believe you were alone, so you could discover that you are not. I had to let your emotional compass spin wildly, so you would learn to navigate by a different star, a fixed point, unseen, but unchanging. You have missed signs because you were looking for fireworks. I often speak in the aftermath of the blast, in the settling dust. You have begged for understanding on your schedule, pounding on the door of tomorrow. But I operate in the eternal now. My timing is not a delay. It is a precise incision. It is the exact moment the wound is ready for the healing, the exact moment the lesson can be received without destroying the learner. This is that moment. For you. Right now, right? Everything you have endured, the dryness, the doubt, the numb prayers, the ceremonies that felt empty, was not a sign of failure. It was the furnace. And you have not been burning. You have been being forged. The feelings will return. They will ebb and flow like they always have. But they will no longer be your God. They will no longer be the measure of your faith. Your faith will be measured by the quiet resolve in your soul when all feelings have gone to sleep. That is where I meet you. Not in the choir of your emotions, but in the sanctuary of your surrender. What comes next will require that kind of faith, the kind without the crutch of feeling. We are going to talk about things that have been hidden, things about your journey, about the world you walk through, about the nature of the battle you feel but cannot see. You will see why you had to be strong in this specific way before you could be shown. You will understand the mercy in the previous silence. What is coming is not to frighten you, but to focus you, to clarify a purpose that has felt muddy and obscured for too long. This is the beginning of an ending, and the start of everything real. Breathe. The silence is where I have been speaking loudest. You just haven't learned the language. You have mistaken my quiet for indifference. You have interpreted the space between your prayer and any palpable answer as a void, as proof of your own unworthiness or of my absence. That space is not a void. It is the most sacred ground. It is the chamber where faith is conceived, not in warmth, but in will. I want you to think of the most profound decision you have ever made, the one that changed everything. Did you feel certain? Or did you, in a moment of terrible clarity, simply choose? The feeling followed. It always does. But it was not the foundation. The feeling was the celebration after the building was erected. You have been waiting for the celebration before you even lifted the first stone. This is why you have felt stuck. I have allowed the feelings to recede because I am calling you deeper. Into the substance, not the shadow. Let me explain something about the way I work, something you have perhaps misunderstood. I am not a curator of your comfort. I am the architect of your character. Every season of numbness, every prayer that seemed to hit a ceiling and fall back, lifeless at your feet, these were not rejections. They were invitations. Invitations to trust the blueprint, not the weather. To believe in the design, even when standing in the foundation hole, surrounded by nothing but dirt and shadows. You have asked, "Where are you?" I have been here, in the steady, unfeeling beat of your heart that continues without your permission, in the breath that fills your lungs even in your sleep, when your conscious mind offers no praise. My sustaining power does not require your emotional applause. It simply is. Your faith must learn the same discipline. It must become as involuntary as a heartbeat, a function of life, not a fluctuating reaction to circumstance. We are entering a time where much that has been hidden will be revealed. But understand this: the revealing is not for spectacle, it is for stability. The truths I will show you are not for you to simply know, they are for you to stand upon. When the ground beneath everyone else's feet begins to shift, as it will, you will need ground that does not. That ground cannot be a feeling. Feelings are the most shifting ground of all. The ground must be a knowing that is married to a trust so deep it is moved beyond the need for sensory confirmation. Do you remember the nights you lay awake, begging for a sign, for a feeling, for anything to assure you that you were not alone? That was the training. That was the weightlifting. Your faith muscle was being strained to its limit, not because I wanted to break you, but because I needed it strong. What I must show you now requires a strength that sentimental belief could never hold. There were warnings you missed because you were looking for a shout. I often whisper through the consequences of poor choices. There was mercy you did not recognize because it came disguised as hardship, cutting you away from a path that would have ultimately destroyed you. You thought I was carving into you with a blade. I was performing surgery with a scalpel. There is a difference. The numbness you fear, it is the anesthetic. The operation is still underway. You are not meant to feel everything right now. You are meant to survive the procedure, to lie still and trust the hand of the surgeon, even when you cannot see his face, even when you can only see the bright, sterile light above you and feel the strange, distant pressure of something being removed, something being repaired. This is why everything could not be explained earlier. You would have run from the operating table. You would have chosen a shallow comfort over a deep healing. My silence was the consent form you signed in your spirit when you whispered, "Thy will be done." You did not know what it meant, but I did. So now we begin. We begin with the first hidden thing, your own heart. You have defined yourself by your emotions, your passions, your griefs, your temporary affections. You have said, "I am sad," and believed that was your identity. "I am lost," and built a home there. "I am unworthy," and worn it like a crown of thorns. These are feelings. They are not truth. The first truth I must reveal is who you are beneath them, and it will frighten you because it is powerful, and it will comfort you because it is eternal, and it has nothing to do with what you feel today. This is the confrontation. You are not the main character of this story you feel so acutely. You are a vital, beloved participant in a story so vast, it would shatter your mind to see it in full. Your feelings are the commentary track on the film. They are not the film itself. I am asking you now to turn the commentary off, to watch the story unfold in silence, to witness what I am doing, without the constant, anxious narration of your own emotional state. It is time to see, and seeing requires a different kind of light. The light I am about to turn on will not initially feel warm. It will feel clinical. It will expose the dust in the corners, the cracks in the walls you have decorated so beautifully. This light is truth, and truth is only fearsome to what thrives in darkness. To the essential you, the soul I fashioned, this light is homecoming. Breathe through this. The numbness is not your enemy. It is your ally. It is the stillness that allows for true sight. Do not rush to fill this space with old, familiar feelings. Let it be empty. Let it be quiet. I am here in the quiet, not as a feeling, but as a fact. Prepare to look at what has been hidden in plain sight. Prepare to see your own story from my vantage point. The transition from feeling to knowing is about to begin. Let's talk about the wilderness, not the one you imagine. Not a barren landscape of rock and sand. The wilderness I speak of is interior. It is the space between what was and what will be. It is the hollow in your chest where the echo of a promised future lives, but the substance of it has not yet arrived. You have been wandering here for a long time. You have called it many things: depression, stagnation, a season of waiting, a dark night of the soul. You have searched for a way out, a map, a path. You have begged for feelings, of purpose, of direction, of connection, to guide you like a star. But in this wilderness the stars are hidden. The only compass you have is the one I have placed in your spirit. And it does not operate on magnetism. It operates on trust. This wilderness was not a wrong turn. It was the only route. I led you here, deliberately. The path that felt like a circling, a wasting, a forgetting, it was a spiral leading down to the foundation. You had to lose the familiar landmarks. You had to exhaust every emotional resource. You had to reach the point where your own voice, narrating your own despair, became a noise you could no longer stand. Only then could you hear the different sound, the sound of a reality that does not bend to your moods. The wilderness is where feelings die. And I need you to understand, this is a mercy. The death of a feeling is not the death of a thing. It is the shedding of a skin. What you are mourning is not me, not your faith, not your future. You are mourning the loss of a version of yourself that was sustained by spiritual sentiment. That version was a child, a beautiful, beloved child. But it is time to put away childish things. It is time to walk as a son, as a daughter, as an heir. Heirs do not inherit based on their emotional state. They inherit based on their bloodline, on their name. Your name has not changed. Your identity has not shifted. Only your perception of it has been stripped bare. And in this barren place you are seeing, for the first time, the shape of what is actually real. It looks like stone. It feels like rock. It offers no immediate comfort, but it is unmovable. And it is upon this stone that I will build what comes next. You have asked me, why here? Why this dryness? Because in the garden of your feelings everything grew too quickly. The fruit was plentiful, but shallow. The roots were weak. A single drought, a single disappointment, a single season of silence, and it all withered. I have brought you to a place where nothing grows quickly, where the only thing that takes root is what is planted by my hand, deep into the bedrock, with intention and with pain. It will take time. It will look like nothing is happening. You will feel the labor of the planting, and then you will feel nothing. That is the season you are in now, the season of after the planting, before the sprout. This is the most critical phase of faith. This is the phase where true life is determined. Anyone can believe when they see the green shoot breaking the soil. I am calling you to believe in the seed while it is still in the dark, surrendering its very form to become something else. It does not feel like transformation. It feels like dissolution. It feels like an ending. I want to show you something you missed. All those moments you cataloged as abandonment, the unanswered prayer, the door that remained shut, the dream that faded, were not closed doors. They were sealed chambers, incubation units. I was protecting the fragile new thing trying to form in you from the atmospheric pressure of a world that would have crushed it before it could take shape. You felt trapped. You were being shielded. You interpreted the delay as divine indifference. It was divine incubation. The timing was not late. It was exact. The thing growing in you required a specific darkness, a specific silence, a specific nutrient of loneliness to develop the resilience it would need to survive in the light. So now you know. The wilderness is not your prison. It is your incubation chamber. The numbness is not a curse. It is the controlled environment. The next truth is this: the wilderness has an end. It has borders. You are not doomed to circle here forever, but you will not leave it by chasing a feeling. You will leave it by walking a line of obedience so straight, so quiet, that it defies every emotional impulse to turn aside. You will walk when you are tired. You will speak truth when you feel like lying down. You will offer kindness when you feel only resentment. You will do the next right thing, not because it feels right, but because it is right. And with each step, you will not feel the wilderness receding. You will simply one day realize the air has changed, the ground has firmed. You will look back and see that the path was not a circle. It was an ascent. You were climbing all along. You just couldn't feel it. The transition has already begun. The shedding of the old skin is nearly complete. What you are experiencing as emptiness is actually capacity. I have emptied you to fill you, not with another fleeting feeling, with substance, with weight, with a glory that does not fade. The next part of our conversation will require this new capacity. We will begin to look at the missed signs. We will look at the patterns you called coincidence, the protection you called obstruction, the preparation you called pain. You are ready to see the map, now that you have stopped demanding to feel the territory. Rest here for a moment, in the quiet of the wilderness. It is not a place of punishment. It is a place of privilege. The next step requires the strength this place has given you. Now let us look at the pattern. You have seen your life as a series of events, random, disconnected, sometimes cruel, sometimes kind. You have strung them together with the fragile thread of your own understanding, and the story it told you was one of chaos, or of a distant, indifferent hand. You were wrong. There was a pattern, a design so intricate, so deliberate, that to see it in full would overwhelm you. I have been weaving it from the beginning, but you could not see the weave because you were standing too close to the threads. You were focused on the single strand, its color, its texture, its immediate pain or pleasure. You declared some threads good and others bad, based entirely on how they felt in the moment they passed through the loom. The missed signs were not missed because they were hidden. They were missed because you were looking for the wrong thing. You were looking for a sign that felt like a confirmation of your current desire, a green light for your plan, a validation of your fear, a sudden, warm rush of certainty. A sign to you was something that changed your feeling. My signs are different. They are structural. They are not meant to change your mood. They are meant to change your direction. Often they feel like a blockade, a closed door, a sickness, a betrayal, a failure. You saw these as signs of my absence or of my displeasure. You interpreted them through the lens of feeling. This feels bad, therefore it is bad. What if I tell you that the most critical signs on your journey were the ones that felt like death? That closed door was not a rejection. It was a redirection. It forced you onto a path you would have never chosen, a path that led you away from a cliff you did not even know was there. That betrayal was not a meaningless pain. It was a severing of a tie that was slowly poisoning your soul. You felt the agony of the cut. I saw the gangrene that was being removed. That silence after your most desperate prayer was not indifference. It was the sign. The sign was the silence itself. It was the invitation into the faith you are learning now, the faith that speaks into the void and believes the void has ears. You have been reading my messages in a language of emotion. I have been writing them in a language of consequence, of cause and effect, of spiritual physics. Think of the times you felt a strange, unshakable no in your spirit, when everything in your logical mind said, yes. That was me. You felt it as a restriction. I meant it as protection. You felt the limitation. I was enacting the liberation. Think of the person who left your life, creating an emptiness that ached. You called it a loss. I orchestrated it as a necessary clearing, making room for a new work that required solitude you would have never volunteered for. You saw obstacles. I erected safeguards. You felt abandoned. I was standing guard. This is the great reframing. This is where faith without feelings becomes your sight. It allows you to look back on the tapestry not as a collection of random, colored threads, but as a deliberate image. The dark threads are not mistakes. They are the lines that give depth, that create contrast, that make the luminous threads shine with a meaning they could never have alone. The delay in your understanding was necessary. You could not have borne this perspective earlier. You would have used it as a bargaining tool. If this pain is for my good, then give me the good now and skip the pain. You would have cheapened the process. You would have tried to engineer the outcome, and in doing so, you would have destroyed the artistry. I had to let you walk through the valley, believing you were alone, so that when you finally saw the footsteps beside your own, you would know they were not yours. You would know they were mine, and the knowing would be a fact engraved in your spirit, not a feeling that could be argued away by a bad day. Now you are ready for a more difficult truth. Some of the hardships were not safeguards. They were warnings you ignored. Warnings delivered through the gentle pressure of my spirit, which you overrode with a louder, more urgent feeling of desire, of fear, of pride. I allowed you to experience the consequence. That too was a sign, a severe mercy. You learned the weight of a choice not by being told, but by carrying it. The pain was not punishment, it was education. It was the bone learning the danger of the cliff by breaking. Now it heals stronger, knowing the border of the ledge. This is the mingling of warning and mercy. A warning ignored becomes a lesson lived. A lesson lived becomes wisdom embedded, and that wisdom becomes a future safeguard. My mercy is not always in stopping the pain. It is often in ensuring the pain is not wasted. So look back. Now, look at the closed doors, the endings, the betrayals, the silent skies. Do not look for the feeling you had then. Look for the pattern that has emerged since. See the redirect. See the protection. See the necessary clearing. See the lesson that became part of your foundation. You are not a victim of chaos. You are a student in a severe and loving school. The curriculum was hidden because you had to experience it before you could understand it. The test always comes before the lesson makes sense. Now the pattern is shifting from something you endure to something you can participate in with understanding. You are graduating from passive subject to active partner. This requires a new level of trust. A trust that says, I see your pattern. I may not like this thread you are weaving now. It may feel harsh and dark and painful, but I trust the weaver. This is the frontier of faith without feelings. Trusting the hand when you do not like the thread. Breathe. The review is almost complete. The viewing of the pattern prepares you for what comes next. You will need this settled assurance in your spirit. This knowledge that I weave all things for the next truth we must face. There is a wall inside you. You have felt it. It is the barrier between the person you are and the person you know. In your deepest moments of clarity, you were meant to be. You have tried to scale it with feeling. You had surges of inspiration, waves of holy passion, moments of ecstatic surrender. You would reach a certain height, and then the feeling would fade, and you would slide back down, convinced the wall was too high, or that you were too weak. That wall was never meant to be scaled. It was meant to be dissolved. And the solvent is not a feeling, it is a fact. A truth so heavy, so foundational, that it does not inspire you, it reconstructs you. This is the moment of internal transformation that must precede any external change. We have arrived at the core, the silent, unmoving center, where all your frantic effort and emotional striving has been trying to reach. You have been asking for a change in your circumstances. I am enacting a change in your constitution. The numbness, the wilderness, the reframing of your past, all of it has been to bring you here, to this point of perfect, quiet exhaustion, where you have no more emotional bids to make, no more deals to offer, no more, if you do this, I will feel that negotiations. You are empty. Good. Now listen to what fills the silence. You are not who you think you are. The you that is defined by its wounds, its accomplishments, its failures, its relationships, its fluctuating sense of worth. That is a ghost. A story you have been telling yourself, edited by your feelings, narrated by your fears. That ghost is what has been throwing itself against the wall, trying to escape into a better story. The truth is, the wall does not separate you from your future self. It separates the ghost from the reality. I'm about to tell you who you really are. And when you know it in that deep, unfeeling marrow of your spirit, the wall will simply cease to be. It was only ever an illusion made from lies you believed about yourself. Here is the fact. You are not defined by what was done to you. You are not confined by what you have done. You are not the sum of your desires or the product of your pain. You are not even the collection of your noble thoughts or spiritual insights. These are clothes. They are not the body. They are weather. They are not the climate. You are, quite simply, mind. Before you felt anything, before you chose anything, before you succeeded or failed at anything, you were known. You were intended. You were loved with a love that does not operate on the spectrum of affection, because affection is a response. This love is a state of being. It is the ocean in which you exist. You have been thrashing on the surface, judging the ocean by the temperature of the waves that splash your face, convinced you were drowning. I am asking you now to stop thrashing, to sink, to let go, to fall into the depth where the temperature is constant, the pressure is immense, and the life it sustains is of an entirely different order. This is the transformation. It happens in the dark, in the quiet, in the letting go. It is the death of the ghost. It is the dissolution of the false self that was so desperate to feel its own aliveness. The ghost is dying now, in this season of numbness. That is why it feels like a death. It is. But it is the death of what was never real to begin with. Do not resuscitate it. Do not try to spark a feeling to prove the ghost is still alive. Let it go. What emerges from this death will not be a better version of the old you. It will be the first real version of you. And it will not be calibrated by feeling. It will be anchored, in fact. Its identity will be a knowing so settled that no storm of emotion can uproot it. This is the rock. This is the name carved into stone, not written in sand. This is why everything had to be stripped. I could not build the real on the foundation of the ghost. The ghost's foundation was shifting sentiment. The real requires bedrock. Now you understand the severity of my love. It is a love that will starve the ghost to feed the true self. It is a love that will let you feel abandoned, so you can discover you cannot be abandoned. It is a love that will take away every prop you leaned on, including the prop of spiritual euphoria, until the only thing left to lean on is me. And I am not a feeling. I am. This transformation is internal, because every external battle is first won or lost here, in the secret place of identity. When you know who you are, truly, factually know it, the shouts of the world, the accusations of the past, the anxieties of the future, will have the same effect as the wind on a mountain. Noise, movement, but no alteration of the mountain's essential nature. You are being unmade to be remade. The unmaking feels like chaos. The remaking feels like nothing at all. It is simply the slow, sure alignment of a soul with its original blueprint. So do not look for a feeling of transformation. Look for the signs of the ghost's dissipation. A quietness where there used be frantic self-analysis. A compassion for yourself that is not based on achievement. A patience with the process that is not a passive waiting, but an active trust. A willingness to obey even when no emotional reward is promised. These are not feelings. They are evidences. They are the first faint lines of the new construction. The wall is already becoming transparent. Soon you will walk through it, and you will realize it was only ever made of smoke and mirrors. The greatest prison you ever lived in was the idea that you were the ghost. The liberation is the discovery that you are the child. And the house you have been searching for is not a destination. It is your identity. Breathe into this death. It is the only one that leads to life. Now we must speak of patience. Not the passive, resigned waiting you have practiced, the sighing, the glancing at the clock, the simmering resentment. That is not patience. That is human endurance, and it has an end. It is a rope that frays. The patience I am describing is not of you. It is from me. It is not something you muster. It is something you inherit. It is not the absence of desire, but the submission of desire to a timeline you cannot see. This is divine timing, and it is the most confrontational reality you will ever face. You have been at war with my timing. You have called it delay. You have called it denial. You have, in your heart, accused me of being slow, of being late, of being forgetful. Your impatience has been a quiet rebellion. It has been the root of 1,000 smaller griefs. The anxiety, the forcing of doors, the settling for counterfeits, the burnout from trying to manufacture what only I can give. Your impatience is a form of violence against your own soul. It is the insistence that the seed become the tree in a single season. It is the digging up of the seed every few days to check for roots, ensuring its death. Your life has been littered with these dug-up seeds, unrealized potentials you abandoned because you did not feel them growing. Promises you walked away from because the timeline did not match your expectation. Divine timing is not a schedule, it is a symphony. Every instrument enters at the precise moment it is needed for the whole. The violin does not understand why it must wait through the quiet opening of the woodwinds. It simply waits. And when its moment comes, its note is perfect because it was on time. Not early, not late. Your life is one instrument in a symphony so vast it spans eternity. I am the conductor. I see the whole score. Your impatience is the sound of you playing out of turn. It creates dissonance. It forces a note into a space of silence that was preparing the ear for a different beauty. I have had to quiet you. I have had to still your hands, to mute your strings. This is the source of much of your frustration. The feeling that you are ready, that you have practiced, that you have something to give, and yet you are held in this maddening pause. The pause is the music. The space between the notes is what makes the melody. Your life has been all frantic notes, crammed together, a cacophony of your own striving. The silence I imposed was not a punishment. It was the necessary rest in the composition. It is where the listener leans in. It is where anticipation builds. It is where the previous note is allowed to resonate before the next one gives it meaning. You have misinterpreted the rests as failure. They are intention. Why couldn't I explain this earlier? Because you would have tried to compose the symphony yourself. You would have used the knowledge of the rests as a map, and you would have turned the mystery into a formula. You would have missed the entire point. The point is, trust in the conductor, not understanding of the score. This is the intersection of faith without feelings and divine timing. You must trust the timeline you cannot feel. You must believe in the process you cannot measure. You must find peace in the pause you cannot control. Look at your life. The moments of greatest fulfillment were never the ones you rushed. They were the ones that arrived, fully formed, in their own time. The relationship you didn't force. The opportunity that came unsought. The peace that settled after you stopped fighting. Those were glimpses of the symphony. Moments when you were in tune with my tempo. Your impatience is a fever. It makes you believe speed is the goal. The goal is maturity. The goal is fullness. The goal is a weight of glory that cannot be rushed. A rushed fruit is bitter. A forced healing is a scar. I am after sweetness. I am after wholeness. This is the warning and the mercy woven together. The very thing you rage against, the waiting, the stillness, the not yet, is the precise mechanism of your salvation. It is saving you from the shallowness of an answered prayer on your schedule. It is saving you from becoming a person who gets what they want and remains unchanged. The waiting is the transformation. The delay is the design. So what do you do now? You learn a new rhythm. You sync your heartbeat to a slower, deeper metronome. You stop looking at the clock of culture, of comparison, of your own dwindling expectations. You listen for the conductor's breath. You watch for the subtle movement of the baton. Your faith is no longer a demand for the next note. It is a stillness, ready to play the next note when it is called for. It is active surrender. It is poised obedience in the prolonged silence. The numbness has been your training ground for this. In the absence of feeling, you have had nothing to count but the beats of the rest. You have been learning in the dark to keep time with me. The symphony is about to move into a new movement. The tempo may change. The key may shift. It will require you to be more attentive than ever. Not to your feelings, but to my cue. Your entire training has been for this, to play your part, not because it feels exhilarating, but because it is written, because it is truth, because it is time. Let go of the war with my watch. Your time is not being wasted. It is being invested in a yield you cannot yet comprehend. The harvest of divine timing is always abundant, because it is never just about the fruit. It is about the strength of the tree that grew it. And that takes seasons. So many silent, growth-filled seasons. Breathe in the rest. It is about to end. And your note is essential. Now let us talk about the crossroads where warning and mercy meet. You have feared my warnings. You have heard them as thunder, as the cracking voice of judgment, as a divine no that forever closes a door. You have cowered, or you have defiantly covered your ears. You have mistaken mercy for permissiveness, a gentle look away while you do as you please. You have imagined them as opposites, one harsh, one kind. They are not opposites. They are the same voice speaking the same love in two different tones. Every warning is a mercy. Every instance of mercy contains a warning. Let me show you. The closed door you raged against? That was a warning. A warning that the path you were on led to a soul cage dressed as a palace. The mercy was that I closed it. I took the brunt of your anger, your confusion, your temporary despair, to spare you the eternal despair of a prison you would have decorated yourself. The conviction you felt, that heavy unease in your spirit when you walked toward a certain choice, that was mercy. It was the inner alarm, the grace of discomfort, trying to steer you from a cliff. The warning was in the feeling itself. You often interpreted it as a lack of peace, and you were right. I removed my peace as a warning sign, a flashing light in your soul. The mercy was that I gave you the light at all. You have wanted a mercy without consequence. You have wanted a warning without cost. That is not love. That is negligence. I am not a negligent father. The world preaches a gospel of consequence-free living. It is a lie. Every choice has a weight. Every action has an echo. My warnings are the loving shout across the chasm. The bridge is out. My mercy is the strength I give you to stop the car, to turn around, to find the other road. Even if that road looks longer, darker, and less impressive. Some of your deepest pains are not the result of my absence. They are the result of my shouted warnings that you chose to hear as whispers and then ignore. And yet, even in the consequence, mercy was there. I did not let the crash destroy you. I pulled you from the wreckage. I set the bone. I stayed through the long recovery. The consequence was the lesson. The survival was the mercy. They are woven together in the scar tissue that now aches when you near a similar edge. This is the heart of a faith that does not rely on feeling. To trust that my severe no is a more profound yes to your well-being. To believe that the restraint you feel is not a leash, but a lifeline. To understand that the boundaries you chafe against are not the walls of a cell, but the guardrails on a narrow mountain road that leads home. You have prayed for clarity, and I have given it to you. But you wanted clarity about the future. I gave you clarity about the next step. The warning is the clarity about where not to step. The mercy is the solid ground I place under your foot when you heed it. You see, faith without feelings is what allows you to obey the warning when every feeling screams to ignore it. When the forbidden path feels exciting, promising, filled with immediate gratification. Faith without feelings is what allows you to receive the mercy when it feels like a disappointment. When the better thing I have for you looks, in the short term, like a poorer, harder, lonelier road. We are entering a season where the warnings will be more frequent. The lines will be drawn more clearly. The choices will carry more weight. You will need to discern my voice not by how it makes you feel, but by the truth it carries. The enemy's voice often feels exhilarating, affirming, immediately comforting. My voice will often feel like a calm, heavy truth that requires something of you. It will require surrender. It will require trust. It will require a death to a simpler, feeling-based obedience. This is the ultimate protection. A will surrendered to mine, guided by truth, not emotion. That is the sheltered place in the coming storm. Not the absence of the storm, but the certainty of the shelter. So look back again. See the moments where you thought I was harsh, and find the hidden mercy. See the moments where you basked in a permissive feeling, and find the hidden warning you missed. This refines your discernment. It teaches you to look past the surface of a circumstance, past the initial emotional reaction, to the spiritual reality beneath. Mercy is not always soft. Sometimes it is the scalpel. The warning is not always loud. Sometimes it is the quiet removal of my peace. You must learn this language. The road ahead is one of higher stakes and greater grace. You will be trusted with more, because you are learning to navigate by a different compass. The old compass of feeling would fail you utterly now. It would point you toward temporary shelters that are, in truth, traps. I am giving you a gyroscope, fixed, unmoving, oriented to the truth of who I am. It will not always feel right, but it will always be right. Hold steady. The warnings are coming from a heart of mercy. The mercy is fierce enough to warn you. This is the love you have asked for. This is the love that will actually save you. Let us now speak of clarity. Not the clarity you have begged for, a well-lit map of the future, a guaranteed outcome, a script you can rehearse. That is not clarity. That is control, dressed in spiritual costume. The clarity I offer is of a different nature. It is not about illuminating the path ahead. It is about illuminating the next step. And more importantly, it is about illuminating you. You have been walking in a fog. You called it confusion, indecision, a lack of direction. But the fog was not outside of you. It was within. It was the condensation of your own fears, your unmet expectations, your swirling emotions clouding the lens of your spirit. I could not lift a fog you were continually breathing out. The silence, the waiting, the stripping. It has all been to lower the temperature inside you, to still the inner climate so the fog would dissipate. And now, it is clearing. Not to show you the distant horizon, but to show you the ground beneath your feet, and to show you your own hands, your own strength, your own readiness. This is the clarity that comes without feeling. A cold, sharp, and brilliant light. It does not feel like warmth. It feels like truth. It exposes things. It will expose resources in you that you forgot you had, courage that was buried under anxiety, wisdom that was muffled by doubt, resilience that was sleeping beneath your self-pity. This light is not for you to see your way out. It is for you to see that you are already equipped for the way through. You have been waiting for a feeling of readiness. You will never feel ready. Readiness is not a feeling. It is a state of being. It is the alignment of your will with the necessity of the moment. And in this clarity, you will see the necessity. And you will know in your spirit that you are aligned. The truth I bring does not always bring the feeling of relief. Sometimes it brings the weight of responsibility. But it is a clean weight. A weight that fits your shoulders, carved for you alone. The confusion was the terrible shifting burden of 1,000 possible futures. This clarity is the single, solid weight of your purpose. It is heavy, but it is yours, and you can carry it. Why now? Why this clarity after so long in the fog? Because you have finally stopped hyperventilating. You have finally exhausted the effort to generate your own weather. The storm inside you has spent its last energy. The air is still. And in the stillness, you can see. This is divine timing meeting internal transformation. The external circumstances may not have changed, but your perception has been revolutionized. You are seeing with new eyes. Eyes that do not require the adrenaline of fear or the sugar rush of hope to function. This is the clarity that does not fear. Fear is a product of the unknown. But you are beginning to know the only thing you ever needed to know, that I am. That I am with you. That my character is your North Star. When you know that, truly know it as a fact deeper than bone, the unknown ceases to be a terror. It becomes a territory. It becomes the place where you will walk with me. So the clarity I give is not about removing the unknown. It is about removing the fear of the unknown. It is the settled assurance that whatever the terrain, I am the constant. And you are equipped. Look down. See the ground beneath you. It is solid. It is the now I have been preparing you for. All the frantic searching for a feeling, for a sign, for a guarantee. It was a distraction from the present moment where I have always been speaking, always providing, always working. The misunderstanding was here. You thought clarity would feel like a puzzle solved. It feels like a puzzle surrendered. And in the surrender, the one piece you were clutching, the piece of your own need to know, is released. And suddenly, the picture makes sense. Not because you see all of it, but because you trust the one who holds the box top. This is the beginning of the end of your spiritual confusion. Not because I will explain everything, but because you will no longer need to know everything to take the next step. You will know the next step because you know me. And that is enough. The road ahead will require this kind of sight. You will need to see through illusion, through emotional appeals, through pretty lies. The light I am turning on within you is the lamp for that road. It is not a spotlight on the distance. It is a lantern for the next 3 feet. And 3 feet is all you will ever need. Walk. The fog is gone. You are not seeing a blueprint. You are seeing the next step. And that is the only clarity faith requires. Now we must speak of endings. You have feared them. You have fought them. You have clung to rotting structures, to empty shells, to portraits of a past that no longer breathes, because an ending felt like failure. It felt like death. It felt like I had changed my mind, or that you had missed your chance. You have interpreted every ending as a mistake, either yours or mine. What if I told you that every ending I orchestrate is a surgical incision? It is not a tear in the fabric of your story. It is the precise cut that makes the next seam possible. You are looking at the severed thread, bleeding, and you are grieving the loss of the pattern. I am looking at the clean edge, ready for the new weave. Your faith has been tied to continuity. You believed that blessing meant an unbroken line, a smooth progression, a story that made sense from one chapter to the next. But my greatest works are done in the fractures, in the spaces between what was and what will be. In the holy discontinuities where your own power ends and mine begins in earnest. This season of numbness, of silence, has been the ending of an era you could not consciously let go of. The era of feeling-led faith. The era of a manageable, predictable God of your own understanding. That God is dying. That era is over. The silence is the sound of its passing. The numbness is the absence of its familiar, fevered touch. Do not resuscitate it. You are standing in the aftermath of a necessary death, and you are waiting for a feeling of resurrection. It will not come as you expect. The resurrection is not the reviving of the old thing. It is the emergence of something entirely new from the tomb of the old. It will not feel familiar. It may not initially feel good. It will feel raw and strange and unsettlingly alive. This is the purpose of the ending, to make room for a genesis you could not have conceived while the old thing was still breathing. Look at the endings you are currently walking through. The relationship that cannot continue. The dream that will not manifest. The identity that no longer fits. The comfort that is turned to ash in your hands. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. I am not taking away. I am making way. You have asked for new wine, but you have kept your old rigid wineskins, the structures of your mind, your expectations, your theology of how I should work. The new wine of my spirit, of this next chapter, is fermenting. Its pressure would burst your old containers. So I am not giving you the new wine yet. I am first, gently, irreversibly, ending the usefulness of the old skins. I am letting them dry out, crack, become obviously, undeniably useless. That process feels like loss. It is actually liberation. Why couldn't I explain this earlier? Because you would have clung to the old skin, trying to reinforce it, patch it, make it serviceable. You would have turned the new wine into a mere topping up of the old stagnant vintage. You would have missed the new thing entirely, so I had to work in the silence. I had to let the ending unfold without your comprehension, so you would not interfere. My mercy was in not explaining, because your understanding would have been the enemy of your transformation. Now, you are in the space between. The old has ended. The new has not yet begun. This is the sacred tension where true faith lives. It is the breath held between exhale and inhale. It is the Sabbath rest after the 6th day of creation, when the first world was finished and the next had not yet been spoken. This is where you are, this quiet, empty, pregnant space. This is not abandonment. This is the cockpit of creation. Your purpose is being recalibrated in this ending, not changed, clarified, purified, focused like a beam. What you were meant to do has always been within you, but it was entangled with 1,000 other good but lesser things. The endings are the process of disentanglement. It is painful. It feels like you are losing parts of yourself. You are. You are losing the parts that were never meant to be part of the final design. So do not mourn like those without hope. Mourn, yes. Feel the grief of the ending. I gave you tears for a reason. But do not let your grief accuse my goodness. Within your sorrow, let there be a seed of awe. You are not being dismantled. You are being streamlined. For a purpose that requires this specific gravity, this specific velocity. A purpose that will only make sense from the other side of this ending. Breathe in the emptiness. The ending is not a period, it is a comma. The sentence of your life is far from over. I am simply beginning a new clause, one that will change the meaning of everything that came before. This is where we begin. Everything that came before, the silence, the numbness, the wilderness, the endings, was not the story. It was the prologue. You have been in the womb, dark, confined, nourished through a cord you could not see, listening to the muffled sounds of a world you were being prepared for. You mistook the heartbeat of the universe for your own anxiety. You mistook the pressure of growth for imprisonment. The contraction has begun. This is the transition, the painful, pressing, undeniable shift from one world to the next. It is not death, it is birth. And birth is a passage of violent, holy grace. You are being pushed from the realm of preparation into the realm of purpose. The faith you have learned, the faith without feeling, is your first breath. It is the breath you will take when you emerge into a light so brilliant it will, for a moment, feel like blindness. You have waited for a feeling of arrival. You will arrive, and it will feel like work. Sacred, chosen, empowered work. The feeling of completion is for the end of all things. For now, there is the good, solid fatigue of a journey begun in truth. Your purpose has never been a destination. It is a manner of traveling. It is the way you will walk, now that you know how to walk without the crutch of constant confirmation. It is the way you will speak, now that your words are not seeking validation, but releasing truth. It is the way you will love, now that love is a decision of your will and not a weather vane of your heart. I have stripped you of the false burden of a grand, dramatic destiny you were to feel your way toward. I have replaced it with the true burden, the glorious daily weight of being my representative in a world that is starved for what is real. Your purpose is simply to be, in every moment, the person you have become in the dark. Authentic, anchored, unshakably sure of who I am even when you cannot feel me. The signs you missed, the delays you cursed, the endings you mourned, they were all forging this in you. A credibility that cannot be bought or mimicked, a depth that cannot be faked. You will speak from a well you had to dig with your own tears in a desert you thought would kill you. And people who are dying of thirst will recognize the sound of truth hitting the bottom of a deep, deep well. This is why it all happened. Not for you alone, but for the ones you will now meet in their own wilderness. You will not offer them a feeling. You will offer them a fact. You will say, I know it is dark. I know you feel nothing, but He is here. Amen.